Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today we're doing an Exodia deck profile. So I'm really excited to do some for you guys because we just got some amazing support for one of the most nostalgic monsters in the entire game. This deck is super fun to be able to play and I'm really excited to show you guys this list. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name description every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting you to request a deck profile every single month to your patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing one each of all of the Exodia pieces, which all of these are actually LOB originals, but you gotta play one each of the Exodia pieces because you need them for your copy of Millennium Ankh so that you can summon out the unstoppable Exodia incarnate. Plus, it's hilarious if you actually open up all 5 pieces in your opening hand to instantly win the duel, but definitely give us a like for having all original LOB cards. So for the next card, we actually play 3 copies of Sinajinjin Wakes from a Millennium. This card is really good as a 3-of in the deck, and all of your Millennium monsters actually can move themselves from the back row, with this card having the ability it cannot be destroyed by monster effects, and then you can only use each of the following effects this card once per turn. That if this card's in your hand, you can place it in your spell and trap card zone as a face-up continuous spell, which is a really cool effect that all of your Millennium monsters actually share. This card also has the ability, while this card is a continuous spell, you can either pay 2,000 life points or reveal a Millennium Ankh in your hand to special summon this card, which is a great ability that again all of your Millennium monsters actually share. Then you can actually add a Millennium monster from your deck to your hand, which is this card's unique ability to instantly search out any Millennium monster that you need from your deck to your hand. We then play 3 copies of Shield of the Millennium Dynasty. This card is definitely a 3-of in the build, and this card is a really cool ability. If this card is special summoned by its effect, you actually get to add a Millennium Ankh from your deck to your hand, which is a great ability to instantly get to your copy of Millennium Ankh, making this card one of the best cards in the entire deck to help you instantly get to your combo piece so you can summon out the unstoppable Exodia incarnate. We then play just 2 copies of Golem that guards the Millennium Treasures. You only need 2 copies of this card. This card helps you get to your field spell, which is why we play this card as a 2-of in the build. If this card is special summoned by its effect, you get to add a copy of Yugioh Temple directly from your deck to your hand, which is great to help you instantly get to your cards. And this card is really good as a 2-of in the build, but you only need 2 copies of this card. We then play 3 copies of Lava Golem. Lava Golem is amazing because you really don't have a normal summon in the deck because all of your Millennium monsters between your copy of your Sinajinjin, your copy of your Shield, and Golem all special summon themselves off their effect, which is why you don't really have a normal summon in this build. So you play Lava Golem in this deck because you can tribute over 2 of your opponent's monsters and just out problematic boss monsters your opponent might have on the field. So this card is really helpful at breaking your opponent's board. We then play 3 copies of Shifter. Shifter is just amazing to be able to drop against the opponent because we really don't care about the graveyard all that much. So Shifter is just really powerful in this deck to be able to drop this card against your opponent. And sometimes when you use this card, you just instantly win the game. This card is amazing in this build and just helps out a lot overall in this deck to be able to drop your copy of Shifter and basically instantly win the game. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Terraforming. Terraforming is definitely a 1-of in the build, just to help us to instantly get to our field spells that we need. We then play a single copy of Set Rotation. We actually play 2 different field spells in this build, which is why we actually play Set Rotation. And Set Rotation is just really good to help us get to the exact field spell that we need. We then play a single copy of Instant Fusion. Instant Fusion is really good in this build as well, because it helps you summon out your copy of Millennium Eyes Restrict, which is actually a Millennium monster, which is really cool to be able to summon that card out to your side of the field to basically have a monster negate. We then play a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is really good just at stopping your opponent's hand traps while you're going in for all of your plays, but I really like playing Instant Fusion and Called by the Grave in this deck because your copy of Instant Fusion is basically like an additional copy of Called by the Grave because you do have Millennium Eyes Restrict that you can summon off the copy of Instant Fusion. We then play a single copy of Obliterate Blaze. Obliterate Blaze is really good at OTKing your opponent, but you only need a single copy of this card in the build, as this card has the ability that one level 10 or higher monster on the field with Exodia and its original name gains these effects, that you can pay half your life points to destroy as many cards in your spell and trap card zone as possible, then equip 5 Forbidden 1 monsters from your hand and or deck to this card as an equip spell that gives it 2,000 attack points each. Also, you cannot activate other cards or effects for the rest of the turn, basically boosting your copy of the unstoppable Exodia Incarnate up to 10,000 attack points to be able to help you go in for game. This card also has the ability that gives your Exodia piercing damage, which is really cool to help you just do piercing damage to make sure you're going to be able to go in for game. We then play a single copy of Secret Village of the Spellcasters. Exodia Incarnate is actually a spellcaster, meaning we can use this card with our copy of Set Rotation to basically just lock down spell cards against the opponent, which is just really good. We then played 2 copies of Yugioh Temple. This card is great as a 2-of in the build, but you only need 2 copies of it since we do play Golem in the deck as well. We do play the Millennium Golem, so you only need 2 copies of this card. Your Set Rotation searches it, your Terraforming searches it. It's just so easy to get to, but this card is amazing to be able to use, because during the main phase, you can place 1 monster from your hand in your spell and trap card zone as a face-up continuous spell. Then you can place a Millennium monster from your deck in your spell and trap card zone as a face-up continuous spell. Basically getting to the exact card that you need. If you don't have your copy of Ankh, you always want to place the shield, so you can search out your copy of Ankh by just bumping your copy of shield into the monster zone and paying 2,000 life points. And a face-up Millennium monster that you control is Destroy Battle by card effect. You can place it in your spell and trap card zone as a face-up continuous spell instead of sending it to the graveyard, which is a really cool effect for this card to have, because it's like you're summoning the monsters from the stone tablets, just like they did 5,000 years ago in the Yu-Gi-Oh anime. But it's really cool to be able to do that, and it's very, very nostalgic. We then play 3 copies of Millennium Ankh. This card is definitely a 3-up and basically the entire heart and soul of the deck. This card lets you show 5 Forbidden 1 monsters, basically your Exodia pieces, in your hand, deck, and or faceable on the field. Then you special summon the unstoppable Exodia Incarnate from your X deck. And it's just that simple. By activating this card, you instantly get to special summon out your boss monster, which is amazing. I love that about this card. Then you shuffle the face-up monster cards you control back in the deck, except your copy of your Exodia monsters, whose original level are 10 or higher, and your Millennium monster cards. Also, you cannot summon monsters the rest of the turn after this card's activation, and you shuffle this card into the deck instead of sending it to the graveyard, so you can search it out again later. This card is definitely a 3-up in the deck, and probably the most important card in the entire deck. So you can basically reveal all 5 pieces of Exodia, and then summon out the unstoppable Exodia Incarnate. We then play 3 copies of Super Polymerization. Super Poly is definitely a 3-up just to break your opponent's board, so you can basically make a really good boss monster on your side of the field, and then swing in with the unstoppable Exodia Incarnate. We then play 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity, because you don't really need everything in the X deck, so this card just helps out a lot to help you dig into the deck for the exact cards that you need. So, that's it for these spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start with a single copy of Exode Fires of Rage. This card is definitely a 1-of that you can actually set to your side of the field with the unstoppable Exodia Incarnate. And this card just ends games. It surprises your opponent a lot of times because this card is always treated as an Exode and an Obliterate card. And if you control a level 10 or higher Exodia monster, you just destroy all cards that your opponent controls, which is a crazy powerful effect to spring this up against your opponent to basically just destroy everything on their side of the field. And if this card is in your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, you can banish this card to activate one of these effects to add a Forbidden 1 monster from your deck or grave to hand, or shuffle up to 5 Forbidden 1 monsters from your graveyard and or banishment into the deck, helping you recycle your resources so you can use your Millennium Ankh. We then play a single copy of Obliterate. This card is really good as a 1-of in the build. because this card is basically like a compulse and lets you target a monster on the field, send a Forbidden 1 monster or an Exodia card from your hand or deck to the graveyard, and if you do, return that target back to the hand. And if this card is sent from the spell and trap card zone to the graveyard, you can target a Forbidden 1 monster or an Exodia card in your graveyard and add it to your hand, which is a pretty cool effect to help you grab your Exodia pieces. And then play a single copy of There Can Be Only One. All of your different monsters between your Synergen, your copy of Millennium Shield, and your Millennium Golem are all different types, so this card is really good in the deck to be able to flip up against the opponent and just instantly win the game. We then finally play a single copy of the Angel Statue. This card is really good in the deck overall to basically play on your side of the field for the Silhouette Hat Rabbit, and just helps you basically get a negate on your side of the field. This card special summons itself as a very light, level 4, 1800 attack, 1800 defense, trap monster. That has the ability once per turn when your opponent would special summon a monster. While this card's in the monster zone, you can send this card to the graveyard, which is basically going to negate that summon, which is just really good to be able to do. And I love that about this card, to be able to instantly just negate a summon. And when this card in the monster zone is destroyed by battle, you can destroy the monster that destroyed this card as well, which is just really amazing. This is actually the best target for the new Silhouette Hat Rabbit, and just really good overall in this deck. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with 3 copies of the Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate. Fun fact, the reason that this card is actually called the Unstoppable Exodia is because this deck has no pathetic cards, Kaiba, but it does contain the Unstoppable Exodia. So this card is really good and our main boss monster of the deck, and actually requires 5 Forbidden 1 monsters to make this card, but you're never actually fusion summoning this card, you're just using Millennium Ankh to summon it out. This card cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Once per turn, if this card battles during damage calculation, you make this card gain attack equal to your life points. Once per turn, when a spell or trap card effect is activated, quick effect negate the activation. Once per turn during the end phase, you can send Exode or an Obliterate spell or trap from your deck. And once per turn during your standby phase, you lose 1,000 life points, giving this card 5 total effects, 1 for each piece of Exodia. We then play a single copy of Mud Dragon as our super poly target, 1 copy of Garua, a single copy of Predaplant Dracus to Palea, because this card is basically a walking negate, 1 copy of Millennium Eyes Restrict, which I think is hilarious that this card is actually a Millennium card. I don't think they meant to do that, but it is a Millennium card that's technically tied into this archetype because it is a Millennium monster by name, which is really cool. And then play a single copy of Typhon. Typhon is just really good overall in the deck because it works in just about any deck, and this card is just amazing in this build. We then play a single copy of Access Code to be able to put multiple cards on the field, which does come up every so often. 1 copy of Selene, because all of our Exodia pieces are actually spellcasters, so we can bring them back with our copy of Selene. 1 copy of the Earth Charmer, because we do play a lot of Earths in this deck. Play a single copy of Silhouette Rabbit. This card is really good to be able to play in the deck to help you basically set to your side of the field. Your copy of your Angel Statue, giving you a negate. Plus this card is an illusion, which is my favorite typing now. So this card is just really good overall in the deck. Also, this card has the ability when you activate your trap monster, you can target a spell trap on your opponent controls and destroy it, basically being a walking MST. And then play a single copy of SP Little Knight. You don't have to play SP Little Knight. You could change this card out for like a Nightmare Phoenix if you wanted to. And just really good option to be able to play in this build if you do have it. Again, if you don't, you can change it out for Nightmare Phoenix. We then play a single copy of Link Spider. The reason I play Link Spider in this build is just in case you basically open up 2 Exodia pieces. You can normal summon 1, link it away for Link Spider, summon out the other one, link it away for a copy of another card on your side of the field, like a copy of Relinquished Anima, which is just going to help you out a lot to go in for like an SP Little Knight or your copy of your Silhouette Rabbit, depending on what you need to go in for. We do play the 1 Relinquished Anima so we can gobble up opponent's monsters. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. This deck is super fun. If you guys have never played the new Exodia deck, it's just really cool. I really like summoning out the copy of the Unstoppable Exodia Incarnate. It's really fun to be able to play, and it's amazing to finally have a really good Exodia deck that doesn't just focus on just basically drawing all 5 pieces. You actually have a really cool strategy to summon out an awesome boss monster. So that's going to be it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.